Hello there, and welcome to the scruffy-looking Nerd Hers podcast. I'm your host, Tyler, bringing you news on all things nerd and geek-related. This week's episode will be covering gaming industry layoffs again, Star Wars news, and some other gaming news revolving around YouTube and ad revenue. So, here we go. First things first, like I said last week, I will be at VisionCon in Springfield, Missouri on May 10th and 11th, showcasing the convention, highlighting some of the guests and some of the vendors and comic creators. So, if you guys will be there, be sure to say hi if you see me. Also, if you're listening to this on YouTube, be sure to hit the like button because that helps it get more exposure to more people. So like I said, if you're on YouTube, hit the like button. Starting things off on the gaming report, ArenaNet, the studio behind the popular online games Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2, informed employees today that it is planning big layoffs, according to a person who works there. Although ArenaNet did not give out exact numbers, they may not be yet finalized. Rumors floating around the studio signal that a significant number of people will be let go. Song Yi-yoon, the CEO of Korean publisher NCSoft West, which owns ArenaNet, emailed employees this afternoon with the news, saying, "Our live game business revenue is declining as our franchises age. Delays in development on PC and mobile have created further drains against our revenue projects. While our operating costs in the West have increased," she wrote, "where we are not sustainable and is not going to set us up for future success." Around 400 people work at ArenaNet, and for the past few years they've been working on a number of unannounced projects, according to one person familiar with the goings-on at the company. However, that person said slow development progress combined with a lack of new games in 2018 and 2019 has led to a financial squeeze. ArenaNet's last release, the Path of Fire expansion for Guild Wars 2, launched in September of 2017. ArenaNet management addressed employees directly in two meetings this afternoon. According to two people who were there, there's still no word on how many people will be laid off, and most employees are still in limbo as they wait to find out if they'll be affected. ArenaNet did tell employees it will be giving out severances of 2 months to anyone losing their jobs, as well as bonus time based on tenure with the company. So, at least there's that they have going for them, because I know other companies like Activision Blizzard and Telltale Games didn't offer that same package for people being affected by layoffs. So it's nice to see at least a company's going to be giving severance packages to the employees they let go. So this, like I said, this comes on the heels of the Activision Blizzard's massive layoffs, and I don't want to say ironic enough, but during that time, the ArenaNet Twitter account stated that they had open positions available for those affected by those layoffs, which kind of shows that even the community manager had no idea. There was no communication as to what was coming just a few weeks ago. And this kind of looks like the industry is reverting back to how it was back in the 90s and the early 2000s, where game companies either have to constantly be pumping out games to make that return on the investment of creating the games, or doing games as a service like Destiny and Anthem and stuff like that, because MMO games just aren't going to be lucrative anymore. WoW has really taken and kept the throne for that genre, and I mean there's like Black Desert Online and Final Fantasy, so I mean pretty established companies doing these kinds of things. And I know that there wasn't a huge fan base shift to Guild Wars 2 when it came out, because I was a huge fan of the first Guild Wars. I alpha and beta tested the first game on PC, and my sister and I were really huge into that game. We did a lot of Guild vs. Guild stuff. When the expansions came out, all of us were, we were all constantly just going through them, doing the new expansion stuff. And Guild Wars 2 came out, and I wasn't a fan of how they completely just switched up how the game was played and how the classes were. I wasn't a fan. So I just didn't continue over. And I know there was a ton of people that had that same thing where they were original Guild Wars fans. They switched over to Guild Wars 2 and were just kind of like, what the heck is this? So, but then there's games like Elder Scrolls Online, which you buy it once and you can just play it for free. There's the option to have a monthly subscription, kind of like how Rift is free to play. There's the option for the monthly subscription. Star Wars The Old Republic is free to play. There's the option for monthly subscription. They have expansions that you can purchase. Neverwinter is completely free to play. You can have a monthly subscription, I think, but they also have tons of expansions that you can do. So, like with Guild Wars, it's free to play. There's tons of there's content there, but there's just nothing to pull those people from those other games to Guild Wars 2 because Guild Wars 2 was just a mediocre, lackluster game. So they definitely need to rethink their strategy when it comes to this kind of game and what they're going to do with it. Moving on in gaming news, so Epic Games has completely pulled their ads from YouTube following the discovery of a softcore child pornography ring that was discovered on the YouTube platform. This news broke on The Verge, and after Epic revealed they were tipped off to the ring and immediately had pulled their pre-roll ads from the video platform, as well as reached out to Google and YouTube demanding to know what they intend to do to remedy the situation. According to that report, certain videos have been loaded to YouTube disguised as other videos, such as women showing off different bathing suits that they have purchased. However, in the description, there is a timestamp link leading to a section of the video with illicit material. So far, YouTube has had only one comment issued on the matter, and they said, any content, including comments that endangers minors, is abhorrent, and we have clear policies prohibiting this on YouTube, the spokesperson said. There's more to be done, and we continue to work to improve and catch abuse more quickly. It doesn't appear that Epic Games will be putting their ads back on the platform anytime soon, as I'm sure that they're just not satisfied with that kind of response either. But it does show another dark layer to YouTube that people are largely unaware of. How YouTube plans to combat this kind of content is yet to be seen. And this is something that's kind of been discussed before with people using the timestamp comments for their own just messed up stuff. And here recently it's been more and more exposed. There's been like several YouTubers that have been using like the thumbnails with like minors in it in like swimsuits or just like provocative clothing, and they've been called out for it. And it's just, there's like this huge thing going on with YouTube right now where it's just a lot of messed up stuff. And as a parent, this is some seriously disturbing news. And I'm thankful that companies like Disney and Epic Games are pulling their ads and are demanding something better from YouTube. Like that's money that not only is YouTube not going to be getting, but Disney and Epic Games, they're not going to be getting it either. And the fact that they're willing to take this stand and say, we demand you do something about this. We demand something better than just what I like to call word salad and not anything really concrete. It's just, there's more to be done. We continue to keep working. Well, yeah, but obviously not good enough since this is something that's been reported for, a long time. At least a year. I've remembered seeing videos of people reporting this kind of stuff. Not really much has been done. So this is something they've known about for some time, and now that it's affecting their bottom dollar, with companies like Disney and Epic Games pulling their ad subscriptions and stuff like that, we'll probably actually see something happen now, which it's sad that it takes this, but I guess money talks. Lastly, in gaming news, according to the source Direct Feed Games, Microsoft will start publishing first-party games on the Nintendo Switch, starting with Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Interestingly enough, Game Informer backs up these claims, as well as word of Xbox Game Pass coming to the Nintendo platform. So, of course, if this does happen, it's worth noting that bigger, more demanding Xbox games won't likely ever be playable on the Switch, given that the hardware limitations of the Switch as compared to the Xbox One. but the less demanding games Xbox pumps out, such as Ori and the Will of the Wisps, should have no problem running on the Switch. Those that can't will just have to resort to being played on Xbox Game Pass via streaming. Like any report, this should be taken with a huge grain of salt, but with Game Informer putting its weight behind these claims, it's looking a lot more likely like this is going to happen. There's no official confirmation though, so I wouldn't bet your house on any of this happening just yet. If this is true though, this is a big move by Microsoft and Nintendo, and one that seemingly leaves PlayStation out in the cold. However, if Microsoft does bring its games to Switch, it's possible it could do the same with the PS4 and PS5, whether natively or via Xbox Game Pass. Both Game Informer and Direct Feed Games note that an announcement around this matter will be made sometime this year, and given how big of an announcement it is, I wouldn't be surprised if it's reserved for E3. Now, I think this is something I've touched on before with like how Microsoft and Nintendo are working together, and Sony has kind of just been giving like this middle finger to developers whenever it comes to cross-play and cross-platform stuff. And so I think it's great that they're continuing to further this like relationship of, hey, just because we're competitors doesn't mean we can't have these things on each other's consoles, which I think is great. It's smart. And this could open the door to having Nintendo properties on the Xbox with like a Nintendo Switch Pass or something like that. So I think that's really cool. But this also kind of lends to, I mean, if this is going to be happening, then, you know, most people might not be buying multiple consoles. They may just say, oh, well, the ones I want to play are going to be on the Xbox Game Pass, so I don't need to buy an Xbox One. But I don't know. We'll see. This is interesting. I think this is definitely going to be game-changing, I should say. This will definitely be game-changing for the game industry, and I'll be really interested to see where it goes. And moving on to movie news. Quite a bit of Star Wars stuff this week. So, do you want to feel old? Because this totally made me feel really old. 2019 marks the 20th anniversary of the Star Wars The Phantom Menace being released in theaters. And the movie wasn't necessarily met with positive reactions back in 1999, but it's still a beloved Star Wars movie amongst fans, especially those of us, like me, who were kids when it was released. I was in middle school at that time, and I'm pretty sure, oh my gosh, I think I've seen The Phantom Menace, I saw The Phantom Menace in theaters, I want to say like 20 times. I know I went and saw it with my family, and then my grandparents took me and my sister twice, and then my uncle took me and my cousin at least 5 times. And I went and saw it with a couple friends. I think I went and saw it for another friend's birthday party. I saw the movie a lot. But according to a recent tweet by the official account for Star Wars Celebration, the con devoted to Star Wars, which is taking place in Chicago this year, will be dedicating some time to honor the 20th anniversary of The Phantom Menace. The tweet says, "Celebrate the 20th anniversary of The Phantom Menace Monday at Star Wars Celebration. Get your Monday tickets by February 27th and avoid the will call line." And there's a link and some hashtags. But many lovers of the prequels were quick to comment on the post and share their excitement over the announcement. "Can't wait to watch this Phantom Menace finally getting some love." At the JMAZA. "Oh, nice reward for staying Monday." The Edge 60 pointed out. Yeah. So I think it'd be pretty cool to get someone like Ahmad Best there. He was best known for playing Jar Jar Binks, who wasn't exactly a beloved character. Last year, the actor opened up about the backlash and threats he received over the character in an extremely emotional video. So I think it would be cool to invite him there and let fans like shower him with all this love, because no actor deserves hatred over a character that they portray. Like, that's just stupid. And so I think inviting him, letting him see that fans do appreciate what he did and how he, was involved with Star Wars, I think that would be really, really great. And I think that would be something to kind of reconnect the fans with the movies again. And but if you're hoping to celebrate the Phantom Menace but don't have your tickets yet, there is some good news. Monday is the only day of the convention that is not sold out. So if you do have tickets for the entire weekend, there's tons to see. It was announced this week that Alan Tudyk and Billy D. Williams will be attending the convention. Tudyk is known for his role as Wash in Firefly, but in the Star Wars universe, you would know him as K2SO in Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And everyone knows who Billy D. Williams is. He's best known for playing Lando Calrissian in Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, and he's reprising his role. Well, he was in Return of the Jedi, but he's reprising his role. The actor will finally be reprising the role in the upcoming Star Wars Episode 9. So, other guests included the original Chewbacca, Peter Mayhew, and Donald Faison. Faison is best known for Clueless and Scrubs, but also lends his voice to the character in Star Wars Resistance. Other notable guests include Star Wars Rebels Freddie Prinze Jr., Jason Isaacs, Taylor Gray, and Vanessa Marshall. Many more are scheduled to attend. To see the current list, there will be a link in the description, so if that's something that interests you, I'll go ahead and post a link in the description. And Star Wars Celebration kicks off in Chicago on April 11th. So like I said, I won't be attending Star Wars Celebration this year, but I will be covering the stuff as it happens. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. Moving on, according to HN Entertainment, Disney is mulling over 5 potential ideas, including series about the adventures of young Princess Leia, First Order Captain Phasma, played by Game of Thrones star Gwendolyn Christie, The Mysterious Knights of Ren, Rose Tico, and the Sith Lord Darth Bane TV shows on their Disney Plus streaming service. Also, according to Star Wars Newsnet, they report that an Obi-Wan Kenobi story is also being considered, but it's not a real rumor unless he pops up somewhere. Naturally, it would star Ewan McGregor reprising his role from the Star Wars prequel trilogy and would be more of a one-off miniseries of 6 or so episodes. Now, out of all these ideas, a Darth Bane series personally interests me the most. And if you're unfamiliar with who he is, he's the Sith Lord who created the rule of 2. There should be 2, no more, no less. One to embody power, the other to crave it. Darth Bane came along during the Old Republic era when Sith and Jedi warred with each other over control of the galaxy. Bane saw how the power struggle within the Sith Empire destroyed, so he eradicated every living Sith, took on an apprentice, and the rest is, quote, history. Now, Darth Bane's story is chronicled in a book trilogy by author Drew Karpyshyn, who's he's written some of the best Star Wars books in the expanded universe. But when Disney acquired Lucasfilm in 2012, it relegated all 3 books, Darth Bane, Path of Destruction, Rule of 2, and Dynasty of Evil, to the Legends category, meaning it's no longer a official canon. But then Disney began working parts of that story into shows like Star Wars: The Clone Wars, so it's kind of canon now. I personally would love more official stories set in the Old Republic, between the video games and comic books and shows that are slated to come out. I'd love to see more Old Republic stories, whether it's with Revan, based off the KOTOR games, the Mandalorian Wars, all of it. I'd like, because you can create these stories, create new characters, create new stories, and have, in my opinion, so much more fun with the Star Wars license than here's Luke's nephew, here's Kylo's grandson now, 20 years, 30 years down the road. Like, I don't want to see that kind of stuff anymore. I don't want to see new characters. That's why Rogue One was so refreshing. That's why I was really looking forward, I am looking forward to The Mandalorian. I want to see new characters. I want to see different aspects of the Star Wars universe. And there's those who will argue, well, Star Wars is about the Skywalker family. Well, look at the expanded universe. It eventually branched out to be more than just the Skywalker family. And all of them still swear by the expanded universe. So for them to say it should only follow the Skywalker family, that's a load of crap. Because it can follow other people other than the Skywalker family. Because the universe is bigger than just one family. Anyway, moving on. Next up, there's a musical about Star Wars, or Why Star Wars is the greatest thing in the galaxy, much, much better than Star Trek, which is set to play Theater Row beginning March 14th. The new musical comedy is created by Tom D'Angora, the producer behind Off-Broadway's The Marvelous Wonderettes and Newsical the Musical. A musical about Star Wars is created by D'Angora and written by D'Angora, Taylor Crusoe, and Scott Richard Foster. An original score and lyrics are by Billy Reese. In a musical about Star Wars, Taylor and Scott find themselves bonding in a Staten Island blockbuster video over their love of the Star Wars films. Together, the self-proclaimed Millennial Falcon and Gen X-Winger create a musical that celebrates the magic, the fandom, and the legacy of all things Star Wars. That is, until their co-star, an actor, activist, and recent graduate of AMDA, makes a startling admission. The off-Broadway production will star Taylor Crusoe, Scott Richard Foster, and Emily McNamara as Taylor, Scott, and Emily, respectively. Additional casting to be announced. For tickets and more information, visit amusicalaboutstarwars.com. I think that's pretty cool. I think something like that is long overdue. And because I love movies and musicals, and I like stuff that's about other things. So, like I really love Fanboys. Fanboys is one of my favorite comedy movies because it's about these guys, like these friends who want to go see episode 1 before it comes out because their friend is dying. And so it's based around Star Wars, but it's not a Star Wars movie. So I like that kind of stuff where it's like based around that kind of stuff. There was another movie that was going to come out. It was called like 1977 or something like that. And it was about this kid who loved making films in his backyard. He saw Star Wars and it really amped him up to want to try to do his own sci-fi movie. And I haven't seen anything about it since then. That was like, oh my God, like almost 10 years ago now. I had seen stuff about that movie. So the stuff like that, like it's so cool. And I really love those kinds of movies. So hopefully that musical will become something that gets picked up outside of just like Broadway. I think that'd be pretty cool. Next up on movie news. So this last week it was announced an inevitable cancellation of Netflix's Jessica Jones and the Punisher series. And Deadline reported that season 3 of Jessica Jones will still air on the streaming service, but it will mark the end of her run. The Punisher will not return, having had Season 2 release on Netflix back in January. This seemingly brings Marvel and Netflix's relationship, as it pertains to creating new shows, to an end. The streaming service had already canceled Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, and The Defenders. Netflix has indicated the shows will remain on Netflix for subscribers to watch, though. Marvel's The Punisher will not return for a third season on Netflix, reads a statement issued to Deadline. Showrunner Steve Lightfoot, the terrific crew and exceptional cast, including star Jon Bernthal, delivered an acclaimed and compelling series for fans. And we are proud to showcase their work on Netflix for years to come. In reviewing our Marvel programming, we have decided that the upcoming third season will also be the final season for Marvel's Jessica Jones. We are grateful for showrunner Melissa Rosenberg, star Kristen Ritter, and the entire cast and crew for 3 incredible seasons of this groundbreaking series, which was recognized by the Peabody Awards among many others. Meanwhile, Marvel TV boss Jeff Loeb had also released a statement saying that the company was thrilled by the stories told with Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Punisher. He went on to reflect on the achievement of bringing together the characters and talked up the talent that contributed to doing so. He said, Marvel assembled amazing teams to write, produce, direct, edit, and score 13 seasons and 161 one-hour episodes. Take a moment and go online and look at the dazzling list of actors, writers, directors, and musicians who grace us with the very best of their craft. We loved each and every minute of it, and we did it all for you, the fans, who cheered for us around the world and made all the hard work worth it. Interestingly, though, his statement also indicated that it was Netflix's decision to drop the shows and suggested that Marvel isn't done with the characters yet. He says, our network partner may have decided they no longer want to continue telling the tales of these great characters. But you know Marvel better than that, he teased. As Matthew Murdock's dad once said, the measure of a man is not how he gets knocked to the mat, it's how he gets back up. To be continued. Of course, Marvel is owned by Disney now, and it has been speculated that these characters could have a future on Disney's own streaming service, which is called Disney+. though they've gone on to say that there won't be any mature content like Deadpool or like these shows on Disney Plus, and they want to try to keep it family friendly. The service will be home to season 7 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars and another new live-action Star Wars series called The Mandalorian. Disney has also confirmed TV shows based on beloved superheroes that may not have had their own spotlight on the big screen. One of these shows is based on the fan favorite character Loki from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it is also to be noted that Disney, in their Fox buyout, now will be owning over 60% of shares, I believe, of Hulu. So it is my speculation, as it has been for some time, that these shows, now that they're canceled, once their contract is up in 2 years, will most likely continue on Hulu. Because I don't see Marvel trying to tone down these characters now that they've already been introduced in this style. Like, very graphic, violent, because you can't, and if they did, I know it would just leave a very bad taste in fans' mouths, like with characters like Daredevil and even Luke Cage. Those shows are pretty graphic, they're violent, and they involve adult type stuff. And then if they were to try to tone that down and make it a more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. style type show, I don't foresee that going over very well. I don't foresee fans being happy with that, even if it were to be good. I just don't think fans would appreciate that, as I hate using this term, Disneyfying of those characters in the show. If I were Disney, I would move these characters to Hulu and go ahead and start laying the groundwork, going ahead and writing scripts, going ahead and writing new shows, and then that way when that 2 years is up, they can hit the ground running with these characters and with these shows, continue them, and really come back and give the fans what they wanted. Because I know there was issues with Disney and Netflix. Netflix wanted shorter seasons of these shows. They wanted like 6-episode seasons. Disney said, nah, we want full seasons. We want to be able to tell these stories. We want them to be coherent. So I think it's great in the long run, I guess, that Disney's getting these shows back. I know some people are trying to say Disney has a monopoly, yada, yada, yada. But, I mean, I wouldn't want, if I owned a bunch of characters like this, I wouldn't want a bunch of other, like Fox and Sony and Universal and, all these different companies being able to work with my intellectual properties that I owned. I would try to do everything I could to try to get them back. That just makes sense. That's what a business does. But also, I would like it to happen that way, so that way they can keep the same people who are working on the shows. They can keep the same people who are writing on the shows, the same actors, because there's a lot of people affected by this other than just the main actors and the main characters. I mean, like they said, there's directors, writers, producers, the people who do the catering service. There's tons of people affected by this. So I think it would be great to, if they were to be able to continue them on Hulu, keep the same people, keep the show going, and have more crossovers. Like, start doing stuff with Moon Knight, start doing more stuff with these characters that they own. Do a Blade crossover. That'd be so cool. And the last thing I will cover on this episode, so Captain Marvel is already smashing box office records, and it hasn't even hit theaters yet. Tickets for the film, featuring Academy Award winner Brie Larson in the title role, went on sale in January, and they have outpaced pre-sales of DC's rival Wonder Woman at the same point in the ticket sales cycle in 2017, according to Fandango. Captain Marvel is now the second highest advanced ticket seller for her superhero origin story 2 weeks prior to its release, just behind Black Panther. Captain Marvel was pacing just behind Infinity War and Black Panther as the third top seller of all Marvel Cinematic Universe titles during the same time frame. These strong pre-sale numbers for Captain Marvel are a good sign for Disney, which owns Marvel Studio, as Infinity War and Black Panther collectively brought in more than $1.3 billion in the US box office alone last year. Globally, the two films grossed more than $2.2 billion. Now, movies like Wonder Woman were going to always be the benchmark for comparison when it came to the theatrical debut of Captain Marvel. At the time of its release, Wonder Woman was the first female-led superhero film in more than a decade. It earned $103 million in its opening weekend, a feat Captain Marvel hopes to beat on March 8th. Analysts have predicted an opening weekend box office haul of more than $100 million for Captain Marvel, with some seeing the film taking in north of $120 million. Captain Marvel arrives nearly a year after the cliffhanger ending to Avengers Infinity War, which teased that the heroine is the most powerful superhero and the only one who could take on villain Thanos. The early reviews for the film, which is just 2 weeks away, have begun to trickle in but have yet to be translated into a Rotten Tomatoes score. Disney's marketing, a number of teaser trailers, and nearly a year of pent-up curiosity and anticipation seem to be enough to drive ticket sales through the roof. The pre-sale figure is particularly impressive considering Carol Danvers is a pretty well unknown character to non-comic readers, and her comics haven't been going over too well. They've been rebooted a couple times in the last couple years, and she's not really a part of an already established ensemble such as the Avengers. So for this to take all of that into consideration, I personally feel like those are pretty good pre-sale numbers. This follow-up piece is from the website The Guardian, so bear with me on this one. For sexist keyboard warriors everywhere, the mere sight of Captain Marvel's Brie Larson must be enough to make them break out in hives. Here's a successful Oscar-winning woman playing the most powerful hero in the Marvel Universe, according to studio chief Kevin Feige. In fact, her alter ego, Carol Danvers, might just be tough enough to take down Thanos himself in the forthcoming Avengers Endgame. This, to average, quote, men's rights advocates, is a concept of irredeemable outlandishness, for Danvers is a slender, sylph-like female in a natty 80s-inspired suit, while Thanos is a great hulking purple muscle-bound male. Never mind that both are completely fictional characters with superpowers. The problem here is that girls will never be stronger than boys. Remember how upset they got about Charlize Theron telling Tom Hardy's Mad Max what to do in the movie Fury Road? I do. I remember reading several articles and seeing several videos on YouTube of people who were just, women can't tell men what to do. Still, Larson might have remained a relatively minor hate figure to trolls had it not been for her decision to go one step further than her predecessors in the crossfire, Theron, Leslie Jones, and Kelly Marie Tran, by choosing to use her newfound fame to advance progressive causes that are close to her heart. In a recent interview with Marie Claire, the Oscar winner said that she was keen to use her new role as Captain Marvel to campaign for increased diversity, particularly in the movie industry. She even chose a disabled woman of color, Kia Brown, to interview her for the magazine. She goes on to say, about a year ago, I started paying attention to what my press days look like and the critics reviewing movies. And I noticed it appeared to be overwhelmingly white males, says Larson to Brown in the interview. So I spoke to Dr. Stacy Smith at the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative, who put together a study to confirm that. Moving forward, I decided to make sure my press days were more inclusive. After speaking with you, the film critic Valerie Complex, and a few other women of color, it sounded like across the board they weren't getting the same opportunities as others. When I talked to the facilities that weren't providing it, they all had different excuses. I want to go out of my way to connect the dots, Larson added. It just took me using the power that I've been given now as Captain Marvel. The role comes with all these privileges and powers that make me feel uncomfortable because I don't really need them. Somewhere in a fetid corner of the internet, the trolls blinked and raised themselves from their fitful slumber. The knives have been sharpened, and just a few weeks later, we have the first signal that Larson is the brand new #1 enemy. Captain Marvel has been bombarded with negative audience reviews, all by commentators who couldn't possibly have seen the movie, which has not yet had a single public screening, often labeling Larson a, quote, social justice warrior whose progressive views mean she's just doesn't deserve the white male dollar. So, this is my biggest problem with the internet anymore. When actors or directors say, we don't want toxic fans, these people automatically assume that it's talking about them. If you're not a toxic fan, then why would you think that they're talking about you? Now, this is a problem with social media, I should say. it's became worse as time has gone along. There's this thing with people being anonymous that causes these problems. And there's not any accountability. My buddy Jeff, and I think I've mentioned this before, has always said for as long as I can remember that if you're going to say something, whether it's in person, if it's in front of people, if it's online, you should fully stand by it. And that includes not having that anonymity. Yeah, that word. Anonymity. Yeah. Being anonymous. And I agree wholeheartedly with this. Now, there's people like on YouTube, like The Quartering and Diversity in Comics, which both are furthering this. Maybe if the movie was good, they wouldn't be getting review bombed when the movie isn't even out yet. How does that even begin to make sense? The movie isn't out yet and it's getting review bombed. This is the same thing that happened with Solo, or as those two like to call it, Soilo, which to me just shows where their mindset is at. They're both vehemently against, quote, social justice warriors and assume that anyone that speaks differently than themselves are only doing so because we're all blue hairs or soy boys. Or maybe guys, it just doesn't make sense to be review bombing a movie before it comes out based on your personal politics with the actor involved. Like, I don't care for what Johnny Depp did with his ex-wife, but I'm not going to review bomb Fantastic Beasts because he's in it. I don't care for Kevin Sorbo's political views, but I'm not going to petition people on the internet to boycott and review bomb his projects. I mean, I still watch Hercules and Andromeda and Mythica. Like, I still watch these things, even though he's in them. Chris Pratt's church supports conversion therapy for kids and teens, and while that is extremely troubling and completely disgusting, I'm not going to review bomb the inevitable Jurassic Park sequels because it's called being an adult. I don't need to go out of my way to review bomb something because I don't agree with the politics of it. Just don't watch it. Don't buy it. Don't give it any sort of social media presence if you really don't want to see it. So, listeners, I'll leave you with these words. Go watch what you want to watch. Don't bring personal politics into it. Or just don't watch the things. But please, don't review bomb movies like a jaded friend-zoned incel. So, this concludes this episode of the Scruffy Lookin' Nerd Herders. Thank you so much for your support, and I want to give another shout out to Arturo for that YouTube and Epic Games segment. He's the one that brought my attention to it. So, shout out to Arturo. And please, if you like what you heard, like, follow, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. Share this with your friends and your family, in your Facebook groups, on your Discord channels. I'm on iTunes, I'm on Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, YouTube. There's so many ways to listen, and be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SLNH Podcast. And be sure to pick up some merch. There's a link in the description. And thank you so much, guys, for your reviews and your comments, your messages. They're all appreciated. I love the support. And it really helps me grow the podcast. And like I said, I always get better because I'm never going to get perfect at this. There's always room for improvement. So thank you. I appreciate all your guys' support and all the love you're giving me. Everyone, this is Tyler from the Scruffy Lookin' Nerd Herders podcast signing off. And may the Force be with you.